That seems so like exciting. I don't know if it was just you guys, but
It got me hyped.
yeah, I know. Like we, for everyone at home, we're trying something new. We did that little countdown montage type of thing with the music, and the music was very suspenseful a little bit.
Yeah.
Welcome to Tesla Talks podcast, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. We have our usual Franklin Mother Frunker joining us and helping us out tonight. Hi, hey Franklin, how you doing?
It could be better. No good green screen tonight. So.
Oh, it's green. It's green,
Yeah.
and it's green. It's good. And back by popular demand, we have Darren from Drive Tesla Canada. Welcome, Darren. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, folks at home, thanks for tuning in. If you're listening or if you're watching live is obviously one of the best ways to do it and get interactive. If you have any questions throughout this podcast and you're watching live, just jot down. It's going to be on YouTube, obviously. Just jot down your question in the comment section down below, and we will get to your questions as soon as we can. Or many times we actually interrupt what we're saying and our train of thought, and we try to get to the question as soon as possible. So if you got questions, any questions left over from when Cyril was here a couple weeks ago when he answered all those questions, if you got any of those that you didn't get a chance to ask or you missed out on, ask us. We'll do our best. And if we don't know what I promise, I'll get in touch with him and I'll get the answer for you off air, something like that. But anyways, we've got some Tesla news that we should get into. But before we get into the actual news of the week or in the last couple weeks or stuff like that, we would be irresponsible if we sat here and talked about all the little nuances that's happened in the Tesla world and little news and stuff like that without like talking about the big thing, which is the elephant in the room, which is, the FSD Beta. Now, when I say the new thing, I know it's been out for, how long has it been out? What's today, Thursday?
A week today.
So yeah. So it's been out.
It's been out 8 days.
Wow.
Today's day 8.
Day 8, yeah.
Oh, true. He said he was putting it out on Tuesday, which he did, but we really didn't see things till Wednesday. Was it like Wednesday morning or something like that?
Yeah.
So 8 days.
I keep a daily counter.
You know what? For some reason, I don't know why I don't doubt that. I bet you do. And you've got some, I bet you have it like on some kind of.
We'll talk about it towards the end. Let's talk about the counter towards the end of the podcast.
You actually do. Oh my God. Okay.
That's my special story for the week. And it involves Darren too, so it's perfect that we have him on.
It does. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Once again, I'm in the dark. But that's okay. That's normal. So yeah, let's talk about the beta. I mean, we could sit here and talk about all things that we saw and all things we like and things we don't like. But I just want to get, and I'll start with Darren and I'll go over to you, Franklin. I just want to get your takes on what you think of it so far, 8 days in, and what you like and what you don't like. Darren?
Yeah, so I guess my first impression was really impressive considering it was such an early limited beta release. The behaviors you were seeing that the car could perform, I thought were really impressive. And in following the videos over the past 8 days, it's only gotten better. So I can only imagine once it's pushed out to even more owners, especially here in Canada, that it'll just get better and better. And I think full self-driving is not that far away.
Yep.
We got an awesome comment in the chat, by the way. We just have to highlight it. Martin, #FSD Beta Canada,
Is that what we've been using? When I say we, I mean you guys.
It's something I've been trying to push, yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like, and you know what? It's that fine line. I don't know if it's good or bad or if it's just neutral, but it seems like every time Elon says something, one of us Canadians, and it's very rarely me, so I can say I'm not on Twitter.
Go ahead.
You guys.
He's about to pinpoint me out here.
No. I've seen you. I've seen Darren. I've seen Gary. I've seen numerous people ask about it in Canada, but we seem to. We're certainly, I mean, you can't blame us for trying. We're definitely getting an A for effort. Well, what do you think, Franklin? Like, you think he's finally gonna relent or see us? Like,
Honestly,
I know you have thousands.
Honestly, I think at this point, I think the way Elon uses Twitter is he sees a lot of comments of stuff that's upcoming, but he won't say, "Hey, yes," until it's actually ready to go. So I guarantee you, he's seen one of our tweets because, like, one of us here sent him a lot of FSD Beta Canada related tweets, right?
Yeah.
It's probably the guy in the top right, but I think when the time's ready to go, thanks, Dax. I think when the time's ready to go, I think he's going to say yes. So I feel like he does say yes to upcoming features, like, "Hey, yeah, I think that's a great idea. That wasn't on our roadmap. I'm going to say yes to you so you know it's coming and we're going to do it." But I feel like he says yes to a lot of things that are like very near in the near future of software updates or whatever it may be. So I think when we, like, the beta is going to come to us sooner or later. Because our regulations are usually like 3 to 4 weeks behind whatever the US does. But when it's ready to go, I think in like 3 weeks, he'll say yes to one of us, and then we all go ballistic saying, "Oh, which one of us is going to be," right? So,
yeah, I don't think our questioning Elon is going to get it here any quicker. It's just giving us that heads up of when it's actually going to arrive.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. If we could get a definitive answer from him, that would just satisfy it. And like, I mean, if he turned around tomorrow and said it's 8 to 12 weeks away, yeah, we'd be disappointed. But at least, hey, we have a date, or not even a date because it's Elon time, but we have a window.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't think it's him holding it up, right? Because I'm sure he'd love to get more data, especially with snow and stuff. But it's definitely regulations is what it is, right?
Definitely Transport Canada.
And I've had people comment saying, "Hey, stop your campaign," but I will not stop. Yeah, but I will not stop. I think it's fun, and hey, I think sooner or later he's going to say yes, right? And hopefully it's me that he says it to. Then I can be like, "Yeah, right." So
Mark is saying in the chat that Elon is, or I guess he's asking. He's got a question mark at the end. Elon's worried about snow. Now, that topic has come up with FSD and snow-covered roads. So I don't know if he's worried or as much as he's maybe curious.
Yeah, well, I think it's also it's not just about snow-covered roads. It's the fact that the snow comes up onto the car and kind of cakes onto the sensors and the cameras and blocks them and makes them basically useless. So it'll be interesting to see when it does arrive how it's able to handle those kind of situations, if it can.
Yeah. Not in the news that we're talking about, but it was news, and we can touch on it briefly. Darren, I think you wrote about it, is the new rumored radar that's coming in the new cars. That there's a whole bunch of things with it, but one of the keynotes is while we're on this topic of snow, is that it's supposed to be a heated radar or some kind of radar that'll melt off the snow possibly. So
I think the data in a country like Canada, it's not just us, right? I'm not going to say Canada is like unique. There's a lot of snowy countries and cold countries.
A lot more than us, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the data that he can get from a country like that is valuable because you got to look at the Model 3. I don't think the Model 3 is initially designed for our weather. And you can see the changes that they've made over time, like the one you're talking about now, the heated charge port, so on and so forth, right? They've made an update in the app so the heat can go towards the glass, right? So you don't have that. And that was last year, I think, or the year before, whatever. They've made all these small little changes, right, for the cold weather. And I don't think they didn't build the car with that in mind, right? It's a very California temperature-based vehicle. And they're kind of learning and adapting and changing. And they've made a lot of changes over the last 2 years, two and a half, 3 years, right? So I think, the heat pump. I think FSD data in our weather will be like extremely valuable to them, and I cannot wait till the day he says, "Hey, the price is increasing in Canada," because that means it's happening here, right? So
you can't wait. No, well, the thing about it, we're gonna get to that. I like your segue there, Franklin. But the thing about it is, we will get it, and there are all these little things that are coming down the pipe that are changes, and anything you see that might have been wrong with the 3 or the early 3s, we saw a revision or we see an improvement with the Ys. So they've acknowledged it. And you know what? It's funny. After the first winter, and after the first winter, when a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the Model 3 is not a winter car. It's made and designed. Well, it's designed and made for California. It's definitely not a winter." I took offense. Not offense. I got a little ticked off when people used to say that, and I was like, no, it is. They did their homework and stuff like that. But then the second winter hit. And now we're going into the third winter, and I can see where a lot of those people are coming from with those comments. I mean, I don't know if I, prescribe to those comments exactly to say it's not a winter car, but I do think that they did lack the testing, the cold climate testing that they probably should have done with the 3.
They did it on the Y, most definitely. Martin actually brought it up. The first Y I saw was a super early VIN that they had driving around in Toronto.
Yeah.
And they had it in the middle of winter here, testing out everything. The panel gaps were bad. I can fit my whole hand inside, but it was a test vehicle, right? So and like I said, they've done improvements, right? So I'm not saying it's not a great winter car. Like, I think it's fantastic. I preheat my car and everything melts away, and mine's the only clear car I come out to right in the middle of this winter. It's amazing. But you can see the improvements that they've made, right? That they didn't originally plan for. So
yeah, because you preheat your car properly, not like some video we both saw last night. Anyways, we were talking about FSD, and how do we get off onto this rabbit hole of winter driving?
Because we're talking about FSD in the winter, right?
True. That's how we got it. Yeah, yes.
And I mean, I think the data will be good, right? I want to see if the car will drift around snowbanks and all jokes aside, they have to make it so it starts slowing down sooner because of like ice and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Where right now it's kind of abrupt.
Yeah, true. Now, could they just program that into the code dependent on temperature? Like,
well, think about it.
The wheel slippage, maybe, or is that too late then?
I mean, if it's snowing, they have detection because the windshield wipers are going.
True.
And then they also have temperature, so they can determine the temperature as well as that. And I'm sure they can store data like, oh, it snowed in the last hour, it snowed yesterday. Let's turn on this safety feature, right? Where it's automatically activated. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, let's get back to what we've seen so far, what's impressed us. And we, like I said, we sort of got off on a tangent, and Darren was giving us his impressions of what he's like so far. And we totally hijacked it, Darren. We'll get back to that.
That's okay. So some of the things that I've noticed that have kind of impressed me is it seems like the system is learning very quickly, and it can adapt and learn from situations that it wasn't able to handle maybe the day before. So we've seen it go up narrow streets and go around cars parked on the side of the road. I think it was today we saw some new videos as well of it slowing down for speed bumps, where it wasn't doing that just a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it really seems to be getting better very quickly.
Wow! Already. Yeah, it does. They're on the first or second, or the second or third revision already. Apparently, like .11 or .12. I heard. So
I think the last one I saw was 11. I'm not sure if they've gone up to 12 yet. But
nice. Yeah, the speed bump thing is interesting. I wonder how they detect that. I guess with the cameras too, just like they detect anything else. Franklin, what have you noticed that you've liked so far?
I feel like we're getting pretty close to a level 3 system where the car basically does everything, where the human just has to basically monitor. The only thing they're missing right now is being able to go into parking lots and navigate in a parking lot.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I'm kind of okay. So I'm extremely impressed by everything it can do. Right.
I don't want to. You're prefacing this.
Yeah. So
to say next.
it can do lefts. It can do rights. The roundabouts are really cool. It's extremely impressive. Don't read this any other way. Like, I'm all for FSD, and when we get to price, you'll understand even more. But the only thing that I'm and this is on the consumer reports too, why autopilot rank low. They do a really poor job at like saying, hey, this is the end of where your autopilot ends. And I know it's like limited beta with a certain number of people, but it just kind of abruptly ends when it hits its destination. So if you have to turn into a plaza, it's just going to stop there, right? Where I would have liked to see at least it signal and start turning into the plaza and give the driver a little bit of warning saying, hey, this is the end. Because in its current state, I don't see that rolling out to the mass public, because you're going to have a whole ton of cars just stopping in the middle of roads where it's supposed to turn into the plaza, right? And obviously that's problematic, right? So I think there has to be more fine-tune adjustments before we see a public release. But that doesn't take away from what they've managed to do, which is this is the first level 3 vehicle you can, almost level 3 vehicle you can actually purchase, right? There's no other car out there that you can do that, right? So
yeah. No, you touch on a few things there that a few of them that got my blood going, and a few things that I just wanted to comment about. The consumer report thing, yeah, don't get me started with that. I think, yeah, I get what they're saying, how Super Cruise gives you more leeway and stuff like that, but they got it completely wrong because they don't understand it. I think these people that are judging it don't understand it. But anyways, that's a separate
Did
topic.
you read that report, Darren?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree with Dax. They should have mentioned the fact that Super Cruise only works in a very limited number of situations, whereas autopilot obviously works on pretty much any road.
And a limited number of cars that you can't actually purchase.
And that too, yeah.
Yeah. No,
sorry.
Yeah, no. Getting back to how you say it just ends and just going to the parking lot. What I thought you were going to actually say was how you can't wait for it to do parking lots, like how Smart Summon does. It comes to you, and we're waiting for a reverse summon. I mean, I can't wait for that one, the reverse Smart Summon, whatever it's called. But like I saw in one of Raj's videos, Tesla Raj. If you haven't seen any of his videos, folks, which I'm assuming if you're watching this or you're listening to this, you've definitely watched Raj's videos. He described it best, where it's right now it's not door to door when you turn on navigation. It's more point A to point B. Will it ever get door to door from like your driveway or your door to the shopping mall door? Yeah, maybe one day it will. I don't know. Franklin knows about this kind of stuff more than me, whether that's level 4 or level 5, or even if it's still in level 3. I don't know if they could attain that with level 3 just as we monitor it. But it's not there yet, but it's like Darren is saying, it's getting better every day, all these little improvements. Now, correct me. Oh, before we get to that, speaking of consumer reports and how they say that it ends. One of the other things they were complaining about is how it doesn't have enough driver monitoring like Super Cruise does. Did you guys get a chance to listen or watch the podcast with? Oh, now we all know George Hotz, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hacker George Hotz. He was on Lex Friedman. That's the name. It almost escaped me for a second there. His podcast. Did you listen to that? It was like a 3-hour podcast, but then Lex broke it down into like 5-6 minute segments. And one of the topics that they were talking about is driver monitoring. And George was saying that, of course, George is saying because he's got his own software out there. He's basically not liking how FSD does it, and he basically putting money down that before the end of this FSD is fully released or fully matured, that Tesla will go into driver monitoring with that interior camera. One way, some way, somehow, that they're definitely going to go that route. And the reasons he gave for it, he laid out the points, does make sense. It is a compelling argument. And whether it's us having our hands on the wheel as we do today, and the nag coming to us every 20 to 40 seconds, if that's their way of doing it, and that's the way they'll continue, or if they're going to go to the the in-car camera, like Green the Only has deciphered the code and seen some code in there. Now we don't know. Everyone's assuming that code in there is for driver monitoring, but we don't know that for a fact. It could be in there for what's happening right now with the beta testers. They may be using that strictly, not for us normal people. They may be using that just for the few people in there right now that are beta testing, to see if, as they're beta testing and they're told to keep their full attention and everything from all the wording that came out when full self-driving beta came out, maybe they're monitoring those guys and seeing if their eye track and hands on the wheel and attention is fully on the road. Who knows?
So George Haas has a really good reputation. If you look at his career, his history of everything he's done, he's very reputable, right? And I think having Kome AI gives him a lot of, it gives him a good standpoint as to what's going on and how things work and how things run. He's actually been one of the few that's always said, hey, I need more data. It's not like fake data, you need real driving data. And he said it's after Tesla manages to achieve it, the way they're keeping pace with the limited data they have, he said it's going to be 2 or 3 years after Tesla does it. They'll probably be the next company. His system's rather interesting, but going back to what I was saying, I think just given his whole track record, I put more weight into what he's saying versus, like the CEO of Ford or the CEO of Volkswagen or some of those guys, just because of his standpoint, right? He's a top level engineer. He's developing his own similar system, and he has a really good track record of what he's saying. So, I mean,
yeah, he comes across cocky and he rubs people the wrong way, but after all that is said and done, he's a smart guy and he knows his stuff. So you got to give him credit for that. Any opinion on the whole driver monitoring thing, Darren, before we move along?
I think George is probably correct, and I think Tesla might implement driver monitoring more because they have to get it approved than if they want to do it. That's just my opinion.
Did you guys see that tweet? Well, there's a video going around where another group of people, not in the driver's seat, passenger, back seat, recording a video, car driving on the highway.
Oh yeah, where they were drinking beer?
Yeah.
No, there was another one after the beer one. There's another person that did it. And I think Tesla has to track down these vehicles and literally ban that person from having autopilot and any of the features moving forward. There has to be some sort of clause in their agreement that says, hey, if you misuse the tech, you lose privilege. Because until it actually is full self-driving with level 4, level 5, more likely 4, people shouldn't it just gives Tesla a bad name, right? Because that car crashes somewhere. It's oh, the car didn't do what it's supposed to do. Well, no, it did. It's the user that kind of messed it up, right? So
yeah, that's exactly. That's not what the headlines or all the media outlets are going to say. They're going to be what's the biggest font that's going to be on the headline the next morning? Tesla. Those 5 letters will be everywhere, and that's what everyone else that doesn't even know Tesla or just heard of them, that's the only thing they're going to take away from that story, because they'll just read the headline.
Yeah. So we had a good comment, by the way, which kind of segues into our next topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're finished talking about FSD, and we can bring it up as we continue to talk throughout the night, we can move on to the news. Because, it seems like the guys in the chat here have been sort of talking about what we're about to talk about anyways.
So very impressed thus far. This is 5252085 who left a comment. Very impressed thus far.
That's Kyle.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Very impressed thus far with the FSD Beta. With that said, I think it's a mistake for Tesla to increase the price right now because FSD is not available to the public yet, so we shouldn't have to pay more.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Now, what I so poorly did, and I apologize, Darren, I apologize to all my guests that come on in the future and past guests. I don't introduce you guys properly enough. Darren is the writer, co-founder, whatever you want to say. He is the man behind Drive Tesla Canada, and that's where there's this article, and I think all the articles have come from, and many of our articles in the previous episodes have come from. Yeah, you can go to electric, you could go to inside EVs, but drive Tesla Canada. Don't let the term or the word Canada fool you to think that it's only Canada. He does concentrate on Canada, but he does all the news in Tesla and EVs. So check out the website if you get a chance. If you haven't, but anyways, that's where this article comes from tonight. And as we move on to our first one, like Franklin alluded to, Tesla increases the price of full self-driving package as promised. Now, you want to give us a little bit of background, one of you guys, of why this came to be and how it came to be?
Sure, I can do that. So when the beta software was released last week, I forget exactly how long, but it seemed like within hours of the first few people getting it, Elon came on Twitter and said, okay, now that it's released, we're going to be increasing the price on Monday. So that was on, I guess, Wednesday or Thursday. So like 3 or 4 days later, it was going to be increasing $2,000 US, he said. Yeah. And then got a bunch of feedback on Twitter saying, why are you doing this so quickly? Usually you give like at least a month's notice. And then the other big piece of feedback was, if FSD is only available in the US, why is the price going to increase everywhere? So he, as he's known to do, he listened to that feedback and first pushed the price increase back like 3 days to today, and then also only made it applicable to owners in the US. So
that was fair, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fair. And also said that as soon as FSD gets released in other markets, there's a 1 week clock that starts, and 1 week after it gets released, the price is going up in those markets too. So,
yeah. So what's your take on the price? You think it's fair, or you think it's getting priced out of the hands of normal people?
It's getting to that point where it's getting a little too pricey, I think, for most. But at the same time, I think this price increase is a little too soon. The beta software is probably out on maybe 100 vehicles, maybe a few more. That doesn't really... I would be upset if I was in the US and wasn't part of the beta testing, and all of a sudden the price has gone up when it's limited to so few people. So I think the price increase probably could have waited until the public release, whenever that happens to be, hopefully before the end of the year. I thought it was a little too soon.
Yeah, well, and that's what this topic is really, two-stage, I think. One is the timing. Well, no, first of all, let's go even further back. One is the price itself. And that is a separate discussion in itself that we can have, and we should have, or we probably will have. And then, like Darren's saying, the other is the timing. And if he gave us or our US folks enough notice, and is a week enough? I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, you bring up some good points there, and it's like, Darren, it's only a handful of people have it, but I'm going to have to pay $2,000 more than I did last week. Now, keep in mind, and you mentioned this right in your article as I'm talking, I see it. We've had FSD here in Canada, and with the exchange and everything. We've had it for over 10 grand for a while now. with ours, it's $10,600 plus taxes here in Canada. So when we finally do get it, and it gets the equivalent 2,000 US increase like our friends in the States have today, it's going to go up to more than $13,000. What do you think about that, Franklin?
I think the price is too low.
I mean,
so
if anyone doesn't know Franklin's take on this, if they're new to the podcast, yeah, Franklin is a very positive believer.
Okay, look at it in a couple of different ways, all right? So, Dax, how much you pay for your FSD?
See, but that doesn't count.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. You got the special. Darren, how much you pay for your FSD?
It was before the last price increase, so what was that? 9,200, I think.
Okay, so at that price, do you feel like you got proper value for what you paid?
I think I did, yeah.
Okay, And even if your answer was no, within the next year or 2 years, your value is going to increase, right? So the price that I paid at the time, I thought it was high because if you include enhanced autopilot plus the discounted thing, I still spent 8,000 in total, 7,000, 8,000. And at the time, there was no navigation on autopilot. There was no smart summon. There was no stoplights and street lights, right? So at the time it was high, but I feel like over the last 2.5 years of ownership, I've gotten the value out of what I've paid, right? You have to remember it's not stagnant. You're not paying for something that's staying the same. You're paying for something that's continuously improving. Ours obviously included the hardware upgrade for Dax and myself, right? But the value of what you're getting continuously improves, right? So I think that's something key that most people are missing out. And our buddy Mark, who's in the chat as well, he said it for a while that not everyone has to own FSD, right? With the way Tesla's pricing it now, I'm sure that's going to affect the number of people who are buying it, and Tesla's probably aware of that. But you got to think long term for Tesla. It makes more sense for them to price it higher because of the amount of money they will make back from a robo-taxi fleet. You got to look at it from a perspective as a business rather than just a consumer, right? That's my perspective.
Yeah. No, you always bring up valid and interesting points when you talk about FSD and you explain the value and why you think it is worth what it is. And yeah, you bring up a good point. And not until this week, I don't know if you brought it up or someone else brought it up online, that I never thought of, what I paid for it compared to if it keeps going up, which it will probably keep going up, if I was to turn around and sell the car privately. Now, there's some debate, and I don't know how true this is, that if you trade it into Tesla, they're not going to give you the FSD price value of it. I don't know how true that is, but if you sold it privately, and we all know when you sell a car privately, you always get better than a trade-in anyways. So if I sold it privately, I could say, hey, listen, I've got FSD in there that I don't have to tell the potential buyer how much I paid for it. All I need to say is this is worth $10,000. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get my $10,000 back for it, but to that potential buyer, it just shows that, hey, that's one less thing that I have to worry about, especially if that person's interested in it. If they're not interested in it, then the value isn't there to them. But if they're interested in it and they're looking for a car where maybe they contemplated buying a car that doesn't have it, and down the road knowing that they'd have to put it on, this is already in there. Now, like I said, I'm not going to say that it's worth $10,000 more of what I'm asking for the car, but it is going to be, a high percentage of that. So I never thought of that up until this week. So that brings up a good point. Not that I'm intending to sell my Model 3, but it does, as the car depreciates, and we all know the Model 3 is one of the lowest depreciating cars in the automotive industry, but it does still depreciate with mileage and everything. As it depreciates, now FSD is sort of countering that in a way. Am I thinking the right thing there?
See, and that's exactly that. Tesla doesn't give you value for FSD because for them, they can just resell it and make back the value again, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't finish your thought. I'll ask her after.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, I've heard some different people say, and I don't know the answer, maybe Darren knows too, if you trade in your car that has FSD, does Tesla turn around and sell it without to try to make more money?
Yes.
See, that's I don't know. That's I don't know if I agree with that. That rubs me the wrong way to know that they do that.
I don't agree with it, but I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy.
I think who was it on Twitter? Mark Benton, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
He said he sold 3 cars and he hasn't got any value out of his FSD. And he's probably right. He probably didn't, but he sold 3 cars in 2 years. So every, what would be 24 months divided by 3, you're looking at every 7 months he's selling a Tesla. The price increase isn't setting in where he's getting back his money for FSD. So I was looking, because I've had my car for 2.5 years based off what I've paid. I'd get back all my money for FSD right now if I were to sell my car versus if I didn't buy it at the time because of the price increases.
Yeah.
So if you're buying it today and you're planning to sell your car in 5 years and you got to think, hey, the price is going to keep going up, because it is, you will get back the money for your FSD. You might actually be ahead at the end of 5 years. I'm not talking 7 months, right? 7 months isn't a long enough period of time. We're talking like 5+ years.
No, you're right. And a selfish person would look at it and think, yeah, that's great for me down the line. But I look at it in terms of all my other fellow, and it sounds cheesy, I know, but all my fellow Tesla people that want to get FSD that don't have it, it's growing to that price that may be out of reach for them, unattainable. But I see what you mean, because Mark's a perfect example of that. But I was watching Tesla Inventory on YouTube, those guys, David and Eric, and they've been through a lot of Teslas, whether it's Model X's, S's, or 3s, and even Ys. I think they're on their second Y now. They've calculated with what they paid on autopilot and FSD throughout the years on all their cars, and they've calculated over $65,000 that they've spent on that, and they've gotten limited, if not different, values of usage out of them.
Yeah,
Darren, you were going to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, back to Franklin's original question of if I thought what I paid for FSD was worth it. Let me revisit my answer a little bit. At the time, I didn't think it was worth the $9,200, but I knew that in the future it was going to be worth that $9,200, and plus some on top of that. So with FSD on the horizon, I think what I paid for it last year was definitely worth the money, and probably will be on the next price jump to 13,000.
You got to think a couple other things here, right? In terms of what will end up at, right? It's going to end at a price point where people will not be able to afford it. That's just how it's going to be, and it makes sense. All the competition that's making full self-driving cars, and I follow. I'm not saying I just follow Tesla. Like, I follow every company. There's some interesting developments in China that it's happening right now where they're testing them on the road. But I follow all the developments, and they have one main focus. It's taxis, because of how much money there is in it. So it doesn't make sense for Tesla to underprice it just to sell it to you, because then that kind of ruins their whole taxi business, which they can make more off of, right? So it's going to get to a point where you're not going to own the car. You're going to subscribe to a network of cars, because everything's subscription based nowadays, and you don't have to. You're not like forced to own FSD, right? Not everyone's going to have to own FSD. And in terms of like where the value ends up, right? So if you are using it for robotaxi using Elon's numbers, you could be making $40,000 Canadian per year, or 30,000 US per year at 50% usage. So 50% of the time your car can be on a robotaxi network. And I know people say, oh, I don't want it to be on the robotaxi network, but you don't have to. Just the fact that most people have 2 car households, you can reduce down to 1. You're replacing a whole car. And what's to prevent you from saying, hey, I'm going to run my own private robotaxi network without having it on the robotaxi? I'm going to send the car here, pick up this person, send the car there to pick up that person, and do it all privately, right? Yeah. So these are all things that Tesla has to encounter, and research and development costs a lot of money. And I know people said, oh, it's just a switch, it's a digital product, but there's tons of digital products that they don't just switch the switch for you to get it for free, right? So I think there's a lot of value in it. Obviously safety, which is hard to peg as exact price point, but I peg safety high, and knowing the car will make a lot less mistakes than I will one day. So there's all these things to factor in, and I truly think the price point is going to be way higher than what most people want. And I think there's the biggest problem, and I see this a lot, there's a huge, people have a hard time separating electric vehicle from the FSD software, because they say, oh, Elon wants all the cars to be for everyone, but why is he pricing FSD so high? He wants electric cars to be everywhere, but not everyone needs to have FSD, right? They're not combined, they're not connected.
Yeah. I don't think he's explaining it as properly as maybe he could or he should. Like the way every time we have this discussion, Franklin, and you bring up your points, or you articulate it a lot better than than Elon does. So maybe you should be a spokesman for Tesla and FSD. Now, what I find, and we're going to get off this FSD and move on to the next topic, or the price of FSD, and move on to another topic in a second. But what I just want to touch on, what I find lately in the last week with the discussion with the price of FSD, is what a lot of people are saying, oh, I'm waiting for the subscription service. Now, I don't know, between my Facebook groups that I run, and I see the comments there and the discussions there, and on Twitter and stuff like that, I'm finding a lot of people, and on YouTube too, some influencers are talking about it. I'm finding a lot of people are sitting back that don't have FSD and waiting for the subscription service because they think that this is going to be the be all that end all, and it'll be the answer to all their prayers. I have a feeling, and I've said it a few times, that there's going to be some sad, disappointed people when the pricing finally comes out for the subscription service.
Darren, you want to take a guess at subscription service or no?
And you did a whole video on it, I know, Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
At the price of it, I think it's going to be at least $200 Canadian a month.
So if you do $200 per month times 12 months in a year times 5 years, right, lifespan of the car, you're looking at $12,000, which is too low because Tesla's incurring all the risk for very little profit at $200 for a 5-year span of driving. So I think it's going to be higher than $200 per month.
I think it's going to be a lot higher. I think it'll be minimum $250 to $300 US.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. I think you know what? I think it could be way over 300 too US.
And your formula there, Franklin, takes in is assuming that someone's going to subscribe to it for 5 years. Where
yeah, exactly.
Most of these people are thinking, oh, I'm just going to subscribe to it for the month that I need it over the summer when I'm going on my road trip, or a month here, weekend here. So, it's going to be expensive.
Well, I've heard people think they're going to get like 3-day subscriptions. Like,
yeah, that's the other dangerous thing that people are thinking, and maybe they're wishful thinking or whatever. But yeah, like, no, I don't think it's going to be beneficial from a business standpoint for Tesla to be renting it out for 30 days or a week or something. Like, think of it. There would be no money in it for them. They would lose FSD subscriptions, like long-term subscriptions, but even people purchasing FSD straight out, if they brought any of that kind. And I could be wrong. Maybe they may surprise us all.
Think about it this way. Wouldn't your subscription have to be higher than the price of just buying out FSD? Exactly.
And that's what Elon said it would be as well.
Yeah. So for those who are thinking it's going to be 200 with the price that it is today, and there's going to be more increases. It's going to increase again in 6 months. Dax and I, we talk about this all the time, and I tell them, like, hey, the price is increasing, and we're going to see another 1,000, 2,000 increase. It's going to increase again in 6 months from now.
Yeah, now that it's out here, yeah, you're probably right.
And when it does, that $200 per month is no longer feasible, where it's going to jump up to $250 or $300, and it's going to keep climbing. It has to get to a point where it doesn't make sense for people to buy. Like, why would I pay for FSD if I can just rent it out for 5 years, right? So there has to be a number that makes sense.
And then you also have to consider the hardware 3 upgrade, because there's still a lot of cars out there that don't have the latest, the full self-driving computer. And if you're just subscribing to it for a month, like a lot of people want to do, is Tesla going to pay for that upgrade when you're only going to subscribe to it for 1 month?
Yeah.
Good point.
Mark says 420 per month.
Yeah, why can I see them doing that? Yeah.
And then he said, then it'll go up to 690 per month.
No, Darren's exactly right. I mean, you got the hardware that some people may not have. Is Tesla gonna eat the hardware costs themselves for a month?
And then there's insurance. How about insurance? So if you're renting it out for a month, like, how do you contact your insurance? Yeah, I'm not driving this month. It's my car. Can you switch this for me?
Yeah, there's so many logistics involved in that too. Yeah. Now you're talking obviously level 5, like full self-driving. But I'm talking about even now where it's just navigate on autopilot where they works on city streets and highways and stuff like that. If you go, because a lot of people, what I keep hearing in the last week is people say, oh, well, when you want to go on a summer road trip, you want to tour 2 or 3 of the states, and you go for your family vacation for the summer for 2 weeks, and you want to rent it out. It's like, no, it's not a pop-up trailer. You don't rent it out like that. I don't know. I kind of hope it is, so it satisfies everyone, but I can't see it from a financial aspect. I can't see it. I can't see Tesla losing their shirt on it like that. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm very interested to see what the pricing model will be for that.
Adobe's is 70-1, or at least from their old system when they converted over. So I'm curious to what Tesla prices it out at.
70-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So their old system was $70. Every $70 of the usage charge, they charge the consumer $1 as a subscription fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you brought that up a few episodes ago in one of your analogies, and that makes total sense, right? It's working for Adobe, is it not?
Yeah, and it's not just Adobe. Think about it. You have your music is subscription, your TV viewing is subscription, your there's so many apps now that are subscription based, which I don't know why.
And that's why everyone's getting subscription fatigue and overload. Like, some people just don't want another subscription in life, because what's a subscription? Subscription is just like your cell phone plan, right? Like that's why cell phone plan, or not cell phone plans, but cell phones have been so popular in the last 3 or 4 years or even longer, with just people buying them outright and just going month to month because they don't want to be locked in a 24-month term or anything like that. Anyways, anything else we need to talk about in terms of pricing, or can we move on to the next one?
Oh, we got a question about the Model Y.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so...
Do we really, or you're just segueing?
No, we actually do.
Oh, okay. What's the question?
Any updates on the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y?
That is question number 2 when Elon tweets. Next to the Canadian one, that one is the second most popular question that people are asking Elon. I'm curious too. Do you know any inside scoop on that, Darren?
No, I wish I did, but still no word on when that might appear.
Yeah.
By the way, the person who asked the question in our chat is the same person who spams Elon every single time he tweets with that question.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yes, I see it right there. That's the person, right? Yep. Okay, moving on to our next topic. Brought to us from Darren and Drive Tesla Canada too. The Model Y, speaking of which, deliveries in Europe could begin sooner than expected. Now, I can go down and you can read the whole article Darren puts together here. We've all suspected the Model Y was going to start production when Berlin Gigafactory got up and running and started manufacturing cars. We figured all those cars, and not we know that all those cars coming out of the Berlin factory is going to be European cars. That's going to be all for Europe. But now it looks like, I should have read this a little more fully. You know what? So I don't get it wrong and embarrass myself like I usually do. Sorry to do this to you, Darren, but why don't you take over, because this was your article, just in case. I think I know where it's going, but I just don't want to mess it up in case, because I didn't read it fully.
Yeah, no worries. So I forget when, but sometime earlier this year, Elon said that customers in Europe are not going to get the Model Y until Giga Berlin is up and running. And that's supposed to happen. First cars are supposed to come off the production line scheduled for July next year, 2021. So now some customers have been told by some Tesla salespeople that they should expect their Model Y to be arriving earlier than that. So they're saying it could be as early as Q1, so January to March, maybe Q2. So it seems like, and this has been, it's come from 2 different people that have received this information, one in Austria, and the other one was, I forget where the other one was. So
Netherlands.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be surprising, because they, as of late, they seem to be beating their timelines and delivering products early. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does come earlier than July.
It's a good thing I did let you take that over, because I was thinking something else. But yes, no, it's true. Last time I heard about Berlin is they're putting the windows on that factory already. So that's got to be good news. And so are we suspecting that it's coming out of the Berlin factory because it's so ahead of schedule, or could it be coming from Shanghai factory and they're just shipping them over?
No, from the information that these customers have received, it's going to be ones from Giga Berlin.
Okay, so it's European made. Okay,
Yeah.
Because wasn't Shanghai shipping some European cars over that were Model 3s earlier this week?
Yeah, they started that this week.
Yeah. Okay. See, and that's what I almost thought before I read further down, and I didn't want to read as we were live here, and I almost said that. I'm like, you know what, Dax, I better let Darren take this over, because I might be butchering his article completely. So, Franklin, what do you think about that? Quickly, we'll just go through this real quick.
I think if Tesla ever wants to get out of cars and electricity in general, they have a real future in plant production.
Yeah.
They build plants so quick.
Now, is that, yeah, no, it's true. They, and someone said that when they were talking about Giga Texas or Austin, that they've learned so much from just the original Gigafactory in Nevada to when, now I don't know if it was Shanghai where they learned it all, or I'm sure they're learning as they go along with every new factory, but they've already said, I don't know if it was your website, Darren, or one of the other ones earlier tonight before we went live here, that they showed Elon. Somehow they knew it was Elon. It was like a drone shot from an aerial shot from above at Austin, saying how far ahead of schedule they were in Austin, which is promising news.
Well, Elon's always said that their biggest advantage going forward in the future is going to be production. And if you just look at how fast they build these factories from like literally nothing up, and they're getting like ridiculously quick, it's so impressive. Yeah, I just absolutely astonished at how fast they can build a massive factory like they do. So
yeah, you know what I'm astonished about though? I'm astonished, or I shouldn't say astonished. What I'm more puzzled about, because the factory one is impressive, and that's what I'm impressed about. But what I'm puzzled about is what happened to the regen braking.
I'm so proud of you. That was amazing. Round of applause.
I'm learning from you.
Learning from the best.
The Segway king himself, Franklin. No, seriously. Our next topic is regen braking. It just disappeared in the menu for the new Teslas, because as soon as I read this article, and of course I didn't read it properly, I ran out to my car to check to see if it was gone on mine. But no, it just appeared that it was just in the new cars. Now, whether it's coming back, somebody asked, was it you, Darren, that asked when Elon had tweeted last night or earlier today, said, are you bringing it back, or is it coming back?
Yeah, I've asked that a few times.
Yeah. Okay, so
no response, obviously.
No, shocking. You mean he didn't respond to you after all those thousands of other tweets?
No.
It's almost like a lottery, eh? Like,
seems to be, yeah.
Yeah. It's like getting hit by lightning. Yeah, I know it's happened to you a few times, Franklin. Pipe down over there. So yeah, so do we know what the reasoning for this is?
The only explanation of sorts we've had is from, because this happened actually in China earlier this month as well. And when some customers there asked about why the regen braking wasn't there anymore, they were told it was to improve the driving experience and to maximize efficiency.
I can see that. I can see that. And I was going to say, you know what? There's probably still a good amount of people that turn that to low and don't reap the benefits of the full regen and the efficiency during the summer. Now, for us in Canon, and I know that's why you were reaching out to Elon whenever you got a chance, Darren, because yeah, the way your tweets were very valid. in terms of we need it for winter driving. A lot of times it's good to lower that regen to low, because you don't want that back end, especially with us having rear wheel drive cars, you know, that back end. Don't get me wrong, it's not like it's dangerous and it slides out and whips us around and does a 180 on us, but I've noticed on slippery conditions, even with snow tires, that it'll tweak out a little bit, here and there.
Yeah, and the other reason, since I've published that article, got a lot of feedback that the other reason people put it on low is motion sickness. That a lot of people, drivers and passengers, they're just not used to that feeling of regen braking, and they have to put it on low, otherwise they get motion sick in the car. So
yeah,
it's not just for winter driving.
Yeah, I found that interesting too. Yeah, I saw that part in the article and I forgot about it. That motion sickness, because listen, I'll tell you right now, if it's one person that gets motion sickness more than anyone else, like I will throw up in your lap if you tell me to read a text or read directions or something like that when I'm in the passenger seat or in the back seat, like within like 30 seconds if I read too long. So I get motion sickness a lot, but I've never noticed the motion sickness of regen. But I guess I'm not as sensitive as I thought I was.
Yeah, I'm like you. I can get motion sickness as well, quite bad, and I've never had it driving the Tesla.
It could also be that, you know what, how often are we in the passenger seat of our cars?
Am I the only one who wants something stronger than standard?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll never get it now. But going back, what I keep finding interesting, going back to your one point there, Darren, that we sort of saw this coming because it started a little while back in China. Is it safe to assume that that Tesla is beta testing or trialing everything that they want to do, whether it's hardware or even procedural or software in China first before they bring it over here? Because it seems to be the trend lately.
It does seem to be the trend. The one thing that comes to mind that doesn't follow that trend is the blackout trim, the heat pump, the new wheels. Those all showed up on the Model 3 first here in the US. In North America, so.
Oh, I thought there was some sightings of the black trim in China for the 3s.
We first learned about it from China because they had to file an application with I forget the name of the ministry over there, but they had to file an application to be able to manufacture them with the black trim. But yeah, the first time we see them is coming out of Fremont, not Shanghai.
Oh, okay. Okay, my mistake. Okay. And the last topic, let's get to
I was going to say, maybe it happened in the US over China. It's because they sold more in the US than every other automaker combined for EVs.
Oh, you're perfect.
I'm sorry, Dax. You gotta. Yeah.
Don't be sorry. No, that's perfect. No, I'm saying you're a son of a, because I can't believe how good that was. Yeah, because you fooled me, dude. I thought you were adding something to it, so you actually fooled me. Yeah, our last newsworthy story of the week, I guess, is I found this very interesting, and I didn't find too many other publications doing this story like you did, Darren. Tesla sold more EVs in the U.S. in 2020. This year, and we're not even at the end of the year, than every other auto manufacturer combined. Like, just let that sink in for a second, folks. Like, understand that and let that sink in for a second.
And if you look at the numbers, it's not even close.
No, I remember, I don't know where they are. I remember reading the article, and I don't have the numbers in memory or anything, but yeah, it wasn't close at all. Is it right here? No, it's
honestly, it's an impressive number, but it makes a lot of sense. What other someone in the chat's gonna get angry? What other good viable option is there for an EV that has a good charging network, that has good range, looks nice and reasonably priced?
Yeah, I mean, okay, the looks is
Subjective, I get it.
Looks are subjective. The price could even be subjective depending on people's, finances
That's
and
fair.
stuff. But I see what you mean by everything else. And don't get me wrong, even though this podcast's name has the word Tesla in it, I love all EVs, and I mean we could have done a whole segment on the Hummer and talked about that. And I'm glad they're coming out. Price, I think, is ridiculous, but I'm glad they're coming out. And at the end of the day, if you just get any EV, it's a good thing. But yeah, Teslas are. I agree with you, and that's not being a Tesla fanboy or a snobbish Tesla owner, but it is. It's like Teslas are. It's funny. I run some other Facebook groups that are non-Tesla, and I go in there every now and then, not as often as I should, and I just listen to. I read some of the posts and stuff I had when they start talking about Teslas, and it's funny, and I don't know why. I mean, I guess some of it is warranted, but for the most part, I don't know why, but there is an anti-Tesla sentiment or a hate on for Tesla if people own another EV for whatever reason.
I think too, because a lot of, I wouldn't say I'm like a super fan of Tesla. I'm fairly like reasonable in terms of their shortcomings, which is service, which needs a ton of work. But if like a lot of Tesla owners have the same mindset that I do, where there's not a lot of great competition. I think the Bolt's actually a really good vehicle for the value, and it'll work for a lot of people depending on your driving habits and how far you go and stuff like that. I think it's a really great vehicle, but really other than the Bolt, there's not a whole lot of options. And I think Tesla owners that have that mindset, people get offended saying, "Hey, I bought this car," and Tesla owners don't like my car because they have a different electric vehicle, and that's not the case. I think any electric vehicle coming to the market is good. It just, they're not coming quick enough, and they're not coming with, like, they're not giving Tesla enough competition, basically. And I really hope they do, because competition is good for the consumer. Like, we win when more people are making better electric vehicles.
Exactly.
And Mark in the comments makes a very good point that the big advantage to getting a Tesla is the supercharger network. The other automakers, they just can't compete with that right now.
No, yeah, exactly. That I mean, there's a few things that put Tesla above, but yeah, whenever someone asks me, number one thing, and you know what, it's that's even subjective, but it is and it isn't, because it is true. And when you need it and you need a reliable public charger, you'll see the difference of how good a Tesla supercharger network is compared to the other public ones, where it could be down and not working or broken or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah, when you, and the reason I say subjective is because some people don't take EVs on a road trip. They'll just buy an EV for their daily commute or running around a city and stuff like that, but they'll keep their ICE car as their family vehicle for their, their long-term trips and traveling cars type of thing.
And that's why I said the Bolt's a good option, right? Because there are people that only do short-term trips, and it's a great vehicle for if you're just going around the city, you don't drive a ton, you're not doing those long road trips, you're getting good value for your money, right?
Yeah. Well, this thing came, this, I guess, headline or article came from Car and Driver magazine in November edition. And in the middle of the article, and I know I'm explaining this to all my audio people that aren't watching it, but if you're watching, I've got a screen capture here on Darren's page, and he's got, I guess, the article opened up on 2 pages, and if you scroll down, they have the chart here in Car and Driver. And I guess this image is from Tesla Master on Twitter, or Tesla_Master, just giving him credit. And the way they have it laid out here is like they've all fit it in the bottom left corner of the left-hand page of the chart. And all the manufacturers, I think there's probably about a dozen manufacturers here, maybe 15, and they all fit on one side. But the Model 3 goes off the page into the center and onto the next page and goes off that page. And I guess if we were able to turn the page, it would probably be on the next page. I don't know, but it just goes to show you, it goes completely off both pages. It's staggering. Basically, the number. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Were you not impressed that the Model Y already has 15,000 deliveries, or almost 16,000. I thought that was pretty impressive. It's not even a full year of production, and it's the number 2 car in the States to date, and not even at the end of the year. But anyways, almost 16,000 for the Model Y. For the Model 3, which is the top seller in the US, 62,000. Of course, every Tesla is in the top 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next one, actually, no, sorry, I shouldn't say that. The Chevy Bolt is number 3. And then the Model S is the Chevy Bolt is number 4. And then the Model S is number 5. So Tesla has 3 out of the 4, the top 4. And then for after the Chevy Bolt, what's it look like it is? I guess it would be
the Leaf.
Leaf, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Kona.
No, the Chevy. The e-tron is actually before the Leaf.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Audi or was it Jaguar that's just dumping the price of their cars to try to sell them, to get them out the door before the end of the year? I remember reading an article, I forget where it was, earlier this week, that huge discounts. I want to say it's Audi. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah.
Audi?
I wrote about that yesterday or the day before. That
Probably
they're offering $10,000 off in Canada and over $12,000 in the US.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? They sold. I mean, I'm surprised they sold that many. They sold, what was it again? I'm gonna zoom back in. Almost 4,000 cars. So that's good. So any more comments on Tesla being or the Model 3 being the number 1 in the US?
Not surprising.
No?
That's pretty much.
Now, you know what? I guess looking back on it, yeah, it isn't surprising. But when you hear it, it takes you back a little bit. Were you surprised at all, Darren?
Not surprised. Just the way, like you said, we hear about being the number 1 seller in California and in other states, and then so it's doing well. But then when you see it, especially presented the way Car and Driver did there with the graph, it's impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, well, that's it for the news. Franklin, any questions that you've been going, or we've been getting them as we go?
No, we're good. I've been kind of integrating everything as we've been going along here.
Okay, well then, you know what? All night through this whole thing, and we've got it down to just over an hour, which is good, record time. But we still got our little Tesla stories we want to talk about. Well, let's start with you, Franklin. You've intrigued me with your Tesla story.
Oh, it's not that impressive. It is, but it isn't. So I got a webpage.
Is it full screen impressive?
Made for myself.
Sorry. Ooh,
and
oh, wow.
It's on Drive Tesla Canada, this awesome website you guys have to check out. There's a whole support group up here. So when you click it, you come to this page here, and it says, well, we are patiently, and it's crossed out, very impatiently waiting for the full self-driving beta to arrive in Canada. We thought we'd create this page as a way for us to gather and share our stories. And it says, follow along the support of your fellow Canadian FSD owners. If you're on Twitter, use the hashtag FSD Beta Canada, and daily count up courtesy of myself. And you can actually follow. We'll start from the bottom here. So we had number 2. Saw an advertisement for the new Pac-Man tunnel game. We had day 3, which was FSD Beta Player 2 Press Start.
I did see that one.
Yeah.
And I never understood it, but it makes sense now.
Okay. Day 4, we had the roundabout of stuck in an infinite loop. Day 5, it might be the day that we get our price increase, because when the price increases, it means we're actually getting the beta. Day 6, each passing day feels tougher than the last. Day 7 is starting a support group, which is actually when this page was created. And then day 8, life is tough enough without having to make our own right and left turns. So I'll keep this going indefinitely up until we get the beta in Canada. I did this for Smart Summon every day. and I'll do it again with FSD Beta. I'm going to up the ante though. I'll probably do a giveaway of some sort for people who are using the hashtag, and I'll got to work out all the details for that. But I want to kind of get the hashtag going on Twitter, and people are starting to use it. It's great.
And you're condoning this, Darren?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any interesting stories, Tesla-related stories that you want to share with us, Darren? Or any juicy gossips or anything that you might want to break here on our podcast?
I wish I had something to break on here, but I don't. Maybe we could just, it's maybe a couple of weeks old now, but maybe quickly touch on premium connectivity subscriptions.
Oh, yeah.
Were either of you part of that, or did you already have lifetime subscriptions to premium connectivity?
For a lifetime.
Yeah. We're locked in.
No, okay. Never mind then.
No, continue. Like you can still, because that's something we should have briefly touched on, because not everyone, when it first started happening on my website on Facebook, people were like wondering, like they thought it was a glitch.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was a bug that was going to get fixed in a day or two.
Yeah. It was like there was a lot of these Fight Club memes, like we don't talk about it. If we talk about it, it's going to go away, type of thing. Yeah. And they were paranoid. So okay, so no Tesla stories for us, and that's okay if you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry, I got nothing tonight.
No worries at all. My Tesla story of the week is I just went, and I guess it sort of loops back into last podcast where we went into where we had Cyril on the show, and if for people that didn't watch it, go back and watch it. It's close to 2 hours long, but this guy is a god here in Southern Ontario. He's a former Tesla mobile technician, and he came on a show and he answered all the questions that people had. People peppered him. What do we have, Franklin? Close to 60, 70 questions in total?
Yeah, 60 or 70 questions.
And he took them all like a champ, and he answered them. Anyways, I was up at I got a chance to go up to his place today, and he looked at my brakes and gave me a brake service. And let me just tell you, folks, give you a little bit of advice. Let me start by saying, don't be like me and assume, because I was very ignorant. I'll be the first to admit that I was ignorant and stupid about this. I assumed, and I learned only a few months ago, and it's taken me from now till a few months to get it rectified. But I assumed, because we have an electric car and we have powerful regenerative braking, like we were talking about earlier, that, that means our brakes are great and we don't use them that much, and the car slows down. And I've heard of all these stories with Teslas with 300,000 miles on it, and they're on their original brakes and everything. So I figured we don't need to worry about brakes. Well, yes, you don't need to worry about changing your brakes, like your pads or rotors, like a regular ICE car would, but you still have to get your brakes serviced and maintained, and have them at least inspected once a year. I have had my car coming up to 2.5 years, almost 80,000 kilometers on it, which is about 50,000 miles. And I've never had a brake service or even anyone look at the brakes. And I remember even when we had Moss on, probably about 4 or 5 months ago. He's another friend in Hamilton, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Franklin, he does the same thing too, right? Mm-hmm. He does, yeah. And he was telling me, yeah, you need to do it. And not that I ignored him, I just procrastinated. Anyways, we went up there. I went up there today, and Cyril did it for me. The front brakes are always worse than the back brakes. By the way, my brake pads and my rotors are immaculate. He says it looks like they're hardly touched. So that's good news. But because I haven't had it serviced in almost 80,000 kilometers or 2.5 years, the pins, those little pins that you have to extract to take the calipers off, those pins, the bottom pins especially, I don't know why the tops were fine, but the bottom ones seem to be seized up. And I'm no mechanic. I mean, I don't do justice by trying to explain it to you. Bottom line is, folks, if I could give you any kind of advice, if you didn't listen to anything throughout this entire hour and 14 minutes that we've been talking, and you're still with us this long, go get your brakes inspected and cleaned. It may cost you, I think Tesla charges, Cyril was saying Tesla charges like $200 or $250 or something for it. Now, this is something, whether you're in warranty or out of warranty, you don't have to go to Tesla. I know a lot of people think, oh, I got to go to the manufacturer. It's the best. You use the same parts and OEM and all. You can go anywhere, just make sure they use the proper parts. But anyone can do a brake job, whether it's a Tesla or any other kind of EV. They're not special brakes. They're regular brakes. It does use regenerative braking, but that has nothing to do with the brake system. Get your brakes looked at and take my advice. It may save you extra money down the road. Plus, at the end of the day, it's a safety thing, right? It's all about safety. The brakes are what's stopping the car for the most part. When you need them most in an emergency situation, regen's not going to be saving you. It's going to be your actual physical brakes that's going to be saving you. So that's my
question from Tony. Did your pad clips break?
No. Surprisingly, I thought they would have with him trying to get them out, but my the clips were fine. They didn't break or bend or warp or anything. I don't know if they warped, but they didn't. I asked him about it when he was taking them off. No, the hardest thing was the pins that he had trouble with.
We also had Mark, who said he doesn't race with his Tesla. He thinks Tesla employees are in here deciding who gets the FSD Beta, so he's playing it safe.
Which Mark?
Mark Lindsay.
Yeah. Oh, true, Mark. Yep.
Yeah. He's just playing it safe, just in case the Tesla employees in here. Yeah, like, hey, should we give him the beta? He's playing it safe. We know.
Oh, buddy. Oh, speaking of that, it's how do I word this? It's safe to assume, guys, that everyone down in the States, not everyone, but a lot of people down in the States are club owners or club leaders or friends with Elon or YouTube influencers of some sort. Is that correct to assume down there? Is that the pattern we've been seeing?
Yeah, it started off with, I believe there was actually an agreement with the owners' clubs and Tesla to get it out to the club presidents first. But yeah, it's expanded further than that now.
Oh, should have been a club owner. John Dixon, you could have FSD, I don't know what to do with it, buddy. So yeah, John Dixon, for anyone who doesn't know, is our Ontario club president here in Ontario. So he's going to get it first, probably. If they continue, he's probably not under door.
Sorry, Dax, I removed you from the stream there by accident.
Yes, I know you did. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake.
It's just your shaking hand.
No, it was just an honest mistake. Here, let me put you back.
No, that's fine. You can put me where you want. Okay. Anything else to talk about, guys, before we end off?
That is it. That is all. I thank everyone for joining us in the chat tonight. It's a really good turnout tonight. Great comments, and just makes it a lot more fun, right, for us, and more interactive for you guys.
It does. Franklin gets bored of our topics sometimes, so he just gravitates over to the chat, which I don't blame him. You guys, without you guys in the chat, we'd be talking to just the three of us.
Is it noticeable that I focus on the chat sometimes?
It's totally fine, buddy. No. Listen. Not that you have a job here, and nor does Darren. You guys I just thank you guys every week for coming on the show when you do. And for Franklin, it is almost every week. So no, it's not a job of yours, but you do that very well. You sort of taken that to yourself, upon yourself, I should say. You do a great job of that, and you help me out a lot. So thank you very much. So Franklin, also known as Tesla Motherfrunker, is all over YouTube with awesome videos. When you're saying last week or this week, one of your videos was doing really, really good. Not that you were counting, but you were just commenting on how it's been helping everyone out. Which one was that again? Do you remember? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, I've had a couple actually that have been extremely good. I've had all my best performing videos are ones I've created to help existing owners.
That's it. Right?
So there's the YouTube logging glitch, which is doing extremely well.
Yep.
And I see the numbers for that skyrocketing all the time. There's a sound bug glitch one where your car stops having sound. What else was there?
That happened to me today.
Yeah.
And I think it had something to do with me changing my tires over and having to go into settings from 19 to 18. Maybe it didn't, but it was just a coincidence. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different like helpful videos, like window calibrations,
Yeah.
like screen bugs, screen glitches, this glitch, that glitch. I find my best performing videos are ones I've made to help people, and honestly, that's the reason why I started my channel, is to help existing owners. And it's really cool to see these videos actually do extremely well, and they don't do really well like when I put them out, and I'm fine with that because not everyone's like rushing to search to find to fix a problem that they don't have, right? But it's really cool to see the longevity of a video I put out like a year ago. A lot of people that have helped over the last year. It's really awesome to see. So I always say, like, if I can help one person, it's worth making a video, right? So
perfect. Yeah, no, exactly right. And you're all over Twitter, obviously.
yeah, with my hashtag.
Where are you? Are you on Reddit or Instagram or Facebook?
I have them. I don't use them. Just kidding. Twitter, YouTube.
Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah.
And Darren, I mean, what do we have to say? Darren runs. Is it basically safe to say, Darren, it's a one-man show at Drive Tesla Canada?
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't know how you do that, buddy. That's amazing. and he even has time to help me out every now and then, and I appreciate all the help he does on my Facebook group at a Canadian Model Y group. So he helps me out there too.
Happy to help.
Yeah. So it's amazing that you do that. And of course, you're all over Twitter too, almost as much as Franklin, pushing for that Canadian FSD.
Yeah. I'm trying to do my part.
Yep. No, I don't blame you.
Here's what I'm going to do. Everyone who tweets at least once with the FSD Beta Canada hashtag, for every day that we go on, I'll like donate $1 to a charity of your choice. So if we get it at day 80, I'll donate $80 to a charity of your choice. And I'll pick randomly out of anyone who tweets out FSD Beta Canada with the hashtag. I'll go throw it up on Twitter after this. But
wow, that is awesome, buddy.
Very generous.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my idea.
That's awesome, buddy. I might have to meet you on that one, and we'll double that.
Yeah. All right.
Why not? Right?
If it takes 80 days, it takes 80 days.
Just kidding. Yeah, if it takes it. Yeah, well, you know what? Well, that's okay. Let me ask you guys before we go quickly, because we're gonna wrap this up in a minute. When do you suspect that we're gonna get it? Darren? Putting you on the spot here. I know. It doesn't have to be accurate.
Before Christmas.
I think we'll get a limited release this year. But yeah,
really?
public release not till March, April, May, close to mid 2021 is my guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I'm thinking too for the release itself for everyone here in Canada is probably like in March or April. But
Mark said next year. I'm going to ban him. Sorry, can't have this.
Well, next year could be January 1st, right? Officially. No, you also think around before Christmas, Franklin?
Before Christmas, we'll have something. Yeah.
Wow.
That's my guess.
Wow. Okay.
So for anyone who's in Canada, get your money ready if you want to buy FSD. It's going up $2,600.
Jesus.
Because ours it's $2,600, right, with exchange.
Yeah. So it'll be 13.2.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Get your money ready.
Yep.
But if you have AEP, EAP, enhanced autopilot, it's not as much. It's only half, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, folks in the chat, thank you very much. We'll do this next week again or the week after. Who said ha ha ha? I didn't say ha ha ha. That's you.
All right.
Yeah. We will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. See you guys. Bye-bye.